The Ray-Ban metas are awesome. I'm a little late to the game because the Gen 1 metas came out in September 2023. I picked up my first pair a year after they were released and used them pretty much every day. Well, they just came out with the Gen 2s and I honestly wasn't gonna get them. They have a few upgrades like a better camera and almost double the battery life over the Gen 1s, but it still didn't seem like it was worth upgrading my glasses. Well, I'm a notorious impulsive buyer and I got the Gen 2 anyways. I got the exact same style, the headliners, but that's because I wanted the low bridge version and those only come in headliners. I couldn't even get them in a different frame color. The lenses don't matter to me because I have to swap them out for prescription lenses anyways. I actually have a couple sets of prescription lenses coming in soon, so stay tuned for that video. That issue aside, I've been using the Gen 2s for a few weeks now and I noticed a few big features that are missing from them. Let's start off with the big one, the live stream function. When I got the Gen 1s, they highly marketed the live stream ability on them. Even on the box it says listen, call, live stream. Well, it looks like they completely took that ability out of the Gen 2s, for now. We'll talk about that in a bit. But as you can see on the box of the Gen 2s, they got rid of those words and it's just blank now. I tried it out recently and as you can see, you can still swap the camera to the Gen 1 metas when you're live streaming. But when I tried it with the Gen 2s, that option isn't even there on the screen anymore. I swapped the camera to my front lens so you can see that I do have the Gen 2s on, but when I tap the shutter button to switch to the Meta camera, it just takes a normal photo. Meta even states on their site that the live stream function is only available on the Gen 1 glasses. But that doesn't mean they won't bring back live streaming to the Gen 2s because during the developer keynote at Meta Connect, they talked about partnering with Streamlabs. So eventually, we'll be able to live stream with the Gen 2s to almost any platform and not just limited to Facebook and Instagram like on the Gen 1s. That's pretty big news, and if you want to read more about it, I'll link the article in the description. I'm not sure when that's actually going to be available, but from what I could find, it should be in early 2026. So it looks like if you need a live stream right now, you'll have to go with the Gen 1s for now. The next missing feature, we're staying with the camera. The Gen 2s have an upgraded sensor, and while both generations shoot 12 megapixel stills, the Gen 2s can now shoot videos at up to 3K. That's definitely a nice upgrade, but what was taken away from us is the geotagging feature in the Gen 2s. I travel a lot, so it's nice to go through the metadata sometimes to see what restaurant I was at when I took that video, or was that photo that I took from Shanghai Disney or Hong Kong Disney? Well, now it doesn't show anything. I tested it out taking photos and videos with both the Gen 1s and the Gen 2s. Both were connected to the same phone and with all the permissions granted, and as you can see, there's no location showing on the Gen 2s. I'm sure this feature can be added in a firmware update since it's using your phone to add the geotags, but it's a feature that I'm really gonna miss. Now I know the first two won't affect everyone because not everyone is trying to live stream, and geotag photos isn't a big deal for some people, but the next missing features deal with the controls on the Gen 2s. Let's quickly talk about the app connections. This one isn't a major missing feature, but if you use the Com app, they took that out of the Gen 2s. But in this section is where you can connect your Spotify or Apple Music. The big missing feature is when you go to customize controls. As you can see when you go into the options on the Gen 2s, you can choose what the tap and hold gesture does with your metas. You can choose which music provider you're using, have it trigger Meta AI, or assign it to do nothing. That's fine, but from someone coming from the Gen 1s, you used to be able to do a 3-finger tap and hold to trigger a second option. Okay, so literally as I'm making this video, my metas are on auto updates, and it looks like on this update, they got rid of the 3-finger touch control on the Gen 1s. I swear I'm not crazy, and there was a 3-finger gesture before. Let's try to talk about this. Hopefully someone in the comments can back me on this, but I did find a photo of the options that show that you used to be able to do a 3-finger gesture on the metas. This was super useful because to save battery life in your metas, you generally want to turn the Hey Meta voice command off and only trigger it when you do the 3-finger gesture on the touchpad. This would save battery life since your metas wouldn't always be listening for the command. I know I used the 1-finger tap and hold to open Spotify and the 3-finger tap and hold to trigger Meta AI, but now I need to figure out what I'm gonna do. So I guess this is a missing feature on both Gen metas now, but this just goes to show that the features that are missing in the Gen 2s like live streaming and geotagging could easily be added back in a firmware update. But yeah, let's take a look at the last missing control feature. Hopefully this is still missing, but on the Gen 2s, you can't customize the shutter button function anymore. Granted, most people probably didn't mess with this option, but on the Gen 1s, you could choose what the shutter button would default to. By default, pressing the shutter button would take a photo, while pressing and holding would take a video. But you can choose to reverse it and have it take a video instead with a short button press, and a photo with a press and hold. I probably take 90% video with my metas and 10% photos, so I actually switched this option so it was faster to take videos. Well, you can't choose to do that in the Gen 2s. And hopefully they don't take that option away from me in my Gen 1s. I'm sure there's other things missing too, but like you just saw, features like the ones I talked about can easily be added and taken away in a firmware update. If you found other missing features on the Gen 2s, let me know about them in the comments. For now though, I need to figure out what I'm going to do about my missing 3-finger gesture now. I don't know what I'm saying. But yeah, let's take a look at something. I'm sure there's other things I'm missing too, but like you just saw, let's put the glasses on. I need to figure out what I'm going to do about my missing 3-finger touch. My 3-finger something. I did it.